Hello, televiewers. Good evening. You're welcome to the first edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime TV for this week. We this evening are going to be looking at what is making news on our political scene in Cameroon, especially on the presidential elections that are slated for October 12, 2025. Lots and lots of expectations on the possible consensual candidate for the opposition after 3 days of conclave by some members of 7 cleared political parties to run for this year's presidential election, at the end of which no consensual candidate has been presented. What is not right with Cameroon's opposition, despite so many calls for them to come together and present a unique candidate? We also are going to be discussing about the fears outing of the Archbishop of the Douala Archdiocese. He is calling on Cameroonians to stand tall when it comes to this year's presidential elections and vote out the current regime. He describes Cameroon as dying very slowly. He writes to Cameroonians to survive Cameroon out of a certain slow death that it has been witnessing for the past years. We're going to be asking what Archbishop Cleda actually has to do with politics. Is it his place? We are going to be discussing this with panelists who are with me in the studio. Dr. Michael Ndimancho is a member of Cameroon Civil Society. He is also a lecturer with some universities out here in the nation's economic capital. Good evening, Doctor. We're glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Permit me to decline some of the issues in this country that we think that the political scene, the opposition, needs to get much more stronger. I came to the studio late because of the state of roads. Last weekend, you bear with me, you lived the same experience from Edea to Yassa in Douala. Route almost impossible, where you stay in one place for almost 3 hours. That's a route linking the economic and the political capital. I really think that something needs to be done in this country, and that is why all of us are of the opinion that there should be change in Cameroon. It appears as if when you stay for too long, perhaps you get blind to some of the things that actually you have goodwill to change. I pray that Cameroonians get much more interested in politics, because the moment you blind yourselves to politics, because politics is about what? It's about change. You leverage politics to bring change in the society. And I really pray that Cameroonians to get much more engaged in politics, especially as it comes to this October 2025. It is incumbent on all of us, all Cameroonians. Nobody should stay indifferent. This is a time that all of us will have to stay together, hope together, and have a change. If not, we'll only have our eyes to cry in the next 7 years.
Okay, Mr. Njume Raymond, coming all the way from Limbe, is also part of tonight's edition of the program. Good evening. Man of God, we're glad to have you.
Greetings to you, Mr. Liu, and the great televiewers of Prime Hour. It's always a great delight for me to be on this platform so that we can be able to contribute another block that can help to build a better nation.
Okay, Tamai Jarvis is sitting in for our STF panelist tonight. Is here to come. Good evening, Ta. We're glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. Good evening to those who are watching us from different parts of the world, especially to those in my village way and those in Moya and the political stakeholders. It is going to be very interesting from now to the days, from now to right up to 12th of October. I think many people are going to make their choice candidate known. However, we must understand one thing, that regardless of the outcome, let us be civil, for Cameroon will remain Cameroon, and we all pass away.
Konde Etongo is also part of tonight's edition of the program. He is a militant of the PCRN, Honorable Cabral-led movement. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, dear panelists. Good day to everyone. Good day to your millions of viewers. Good day, or good evening to all the bike riders with waist pain due to the bad conditions of the roads, and all the Cameroonians who are ready with their voters card maybe to make a change, like what the Samuel Cleda is calling. We We hope our humble contribution will help Cameroonians really have a focus due to this 12 October presidential election to really make a change in Cameroon.
Okay, lots and lots of hope after news went around Cameroon that political parties were entering into a conclave for 3 days in Yaoundé, hoping that a consensual candidate was going to come out of this conclave, at the end of which we are yet to see one. Nothing actually happened. They came up with some resolutions to work together in the electoral process, to monitor votes and the like. Why has it been very difficult for the opposition to agree on a unity candidate this far?
It is simple because you remember that in the month of February, I engaged the majority of the opposition. I spoke with them individually. And from what we are having today, it is what I tried to let them preempt so that it shouldn't happen. What is happening today is actually something that I pointed out. You know, a coalition, it is not something that comes out overnight, or it doesn't happen overnight. And one of the things that I told some of them that I met was that a coalition is like a business venture. For you to go into a business venture with someone, you must know that person. You must have qualities, that common qualities that you share together. You don't just go to a business venture with somebody. You must have some qualities that you share together. And this is what I told some of them. And I said, you have to plan now and come together and don't wait for the last minute. Because one of the things that these parties, the opposition, need to know is that they needed to know each other. You don't just, like political parties, you come together and you say, we want a coalition or alliance when you do not know yourselves. Because there is always this care that is taken. I mean, this fear, this phobia for the other that happens when it comes to the last minute. Because people start asking questions. There are a lot of questions that, I mean, which are genuine. I am coming on the table with you. I already have, for example, councillors. I have parliamentarians in my party. And now, when I come with you in that kind of a coalition or alliance, I mean, what happens to my people? These things need to be mapped out. And when you wait until the last minute to be able to have all of these things done at the same time, it can never always work. And that is why you understand that, I mean, I must say this, that during my period of consultation with them, there were some 3 or 4 parties who openly told me that there is this particular party we can never work with. There is this particular party we can never work with. These were already some kind of internal kind of things that were happening. Anger expressed from past knowledge. It appears that something has happened before, that there is this kind of hatred to work with another person. Imagine that you have this kind of internal anger with you towards another, and you feel that it is between 1 or 2 months that this is going to be cleared up. It can never work at that moment. I mean, some people are even surprised with my stand, that I said I was standing for a coalition, and now I'm retracting my stand, because this is, I feel it appears as if they're going to fool Cameroonians as they have always done. We have always had coalitions. That's what people don't know. But those coalitions that come at the eve of elections, those are no coalitions. We have always had them. And that is why, since they didn't heed to the advice, I knew that something ugly was going to happen. And let me tell you, something ugly is happening. And I still continue to buy with the idea of those who say that there are devils among them. And there are devils among them, and you need to scrutinize and see who is the devil and who is a genuine person. Because a lot of things need to be desired. That, I mean, some are already talking about who is older, who is having more popularity, who is having more councillors, who is having more parliamentarians, who is having senators. All of these things need to be put together. And now they have what they call a memorandum of understanding. When you come now and you state this kind of masqueradic show, and many people are falling for it, and at the last minute, what are you going to tell the lady? Or today, parties are supposed to present their colors, the colors of their ballot papers. Imagine that. It means that all of them, they have paid 30 million francs. And that the 30 million francs each has paid is going to go into, I mean, wastage, because they are now going to produce their ballot papers as individual parties. How do they go now as individual parties? Because each of them is carrying his own flag. So you now realize that it is a kind of, I mean, playing to the gallery. A coalition is nurtured and matured. nurtured on a very, very fertile ground. And maturing takes a lot of time. Maturing a coalition takes a lot of time. It is not something that happens with, the strike of thunder. So when you see people coming together, maybe they met overnight and they are not friends even. Because let me remind our lecturers too, that to have a coalition, you must have political leaders who are friends. It is very important. Because if they are not friends, they are going to betray. And therefore, they need time to know themselves. And that time to know themselves is not 1 month, it's not 2 months. And to know themselves, they need to know what the individual also present. What are you bringing to the table? Your manifestos and all of those things. Who is your following? Because you will not just bring somebody, perhaps, yes, we know that new things are good. Who is new? And then you just feel that this person will just have to take the lead. This is very important for all of us to know. And that is why when you see some of us retracting, it is because we are retracting for a purpose. We need to be able to come to terms with what the stakes that Cameroon has now. Cameroon is having its very, very high stakes, and all of us, we need to be genuine in what we are doing. Because when you meet in Fumban, yes, it was historic because they meet in Fumban, to show us that something there can be a good repeat of something. Now, last Friday, we were waiting for a consensus about who this leader is going to be. It didn't come. That already sends a wrong signal to say that a lot of things are not being done, a lot of things are not being understood among themselves. And it is a call for concern. And all of us are getting concerned. Are they going to go in disparate rounds as they used to do? That is already very glaring. But then this doesn't have to discourage the electorate, the voters. This is to tell you that at some point in time, even an individual candidate can win elections in Cameroon. And because if we have tried very hard to have a consensus with the political parties to come together in coalition and they don't, maybe there's some divine providence which says that it must not be a coalition. We have had other countries who have suffered the way we have suffered, and at the end of it all, they went individual and they won. I'm thinking about the issue of Gafar Nemeri in Sudan, the year 2000. I'm thinking about Kamazu Banda in Malawi. There are a lot of examples that we can quote. But then, to say that we should be discouraged, it is something I will never say. It is to say that we need, because change this time around is very, very incumbent on all of us, because we need a change. I think the electorate to stand up tall, and decide.
Now, are you surprised that till now there is no unity candidate, despite all the calls from Cameroonians, at least for the past 2 years?
You see, Mr. Liu, you don't prepare a coalition at the eve of elections.
Okay.
You monitor the political landscape across the world. You must have taken note that Nigeria is preparing for their presidential elections in 2 years' time. And there is already a coalition on ground to be able to see how they could ascertain the objective of being able to topple over the incumbent president. Now, somebody said in English, failing to plan is planning to fail. And when we look at the political landscape of this country and look at the different political actors, talking about the leaders of the various political parties, I have an impression that it is either last year that they knew that there will be presidential elections in Cameroon, vis-a-vis the current stakes and the situation analysis that we currently find on the ground. And I also understand again that there is a lot of, a bit of disruption based on the candidacies of Issa Chiruma and that of Belubo Maigari, who have just come at the nick of time and are trying to tell Cameroonians, I used to work with the devil, but I just realized I've worked with the devil for 30 years, 20 years. I just realized a few months back that the devil is very, very bad. So I'm no longer in that ship. I want to be able to do what will be for the interest of Cameroon. That's the impression these politicians are putting up to us. And when you ask a very pertinent question, for 3 days, they met in Fumba, met in Yaoundé, and are able to come up with a consensual candidate. It's very obvious because, one, we must first of all do a situational analysis of on ground, on the strengths and the weaknesses of every political party. Because as far as I'm concerned, when I look at the different political parties that are sitting in that particular dialogue, some of them don't have political weight. So now you are coming on board to form a coalition with which support. I remember one of the presidential candidates who made us to laugh greatly said he had discovered that his own vision is like that of President Pobia, and he has taken all his 10,000 votes and is giving us support to President Pobia. It simply tells you, Mr. Leo, the challenge we have in this country where people are still selfish, people are still egocentric, and they still believe in me, myself, and I, and feel that, oh, they can do the magic. And it is so amazing to note that Cameroonians, and on this platform, have been called multiple times for a coalition. I believe I spoke to a couple of the presidential candidates, and some of them told me it is we, the media, that is peddling the narrative of a coalition, because if the rules were very, very clear, defeating the incumbent on a transparent election is not an issue, so we should stop peddling the other, oh, we need a coalition. And why are Cameroonians asking for a coalition? Because they are those who are going to vote, and they are very much aware that if they vote the opposition parties in dispersed ranks automatically, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to beat the incumbent. Now, Mr. Leo, let's look at the demographics of the Electoral College. Statistics tell us that the three northern regions occupy 1/3 of the Electoral College. So the question then is, who are those in the three northern regions who definitely hold the stakes? And of course, it goes without saying that Issa Chiruma and Bello Maigari, who are from the three north, who have affiliates in the three northern regions, will tell you, oh, they have a base that they could be able to support. And I can also remember vividly when one of the brothers of the Minister of is it Economy made mention in one interview that power will return to the north. That was a statement that he made on television, and he said everything has been put in place. And my issue was, oh, is it because they have 1/3 of the population in terms of voting, the voting segment? But one thing we must tell ourselves, Mr. Leo, is we have the different political parties. Let's call a spade a spade. Who is the most qualified to be a leader of a political coalition? We must be able to look at the stakes. What is the weight that particular individual has? Because we must tell ourselves the truth. This election is, the opposition parties are not going against President Pobia alone. The opposition parties in Cameroon are going for presidential election. While President Pobia is standing as the incumbent, they are contesting with current ministers who want to maintain the status quo. They are contesting with current governors who want to maintain the status quo. They are contesting with general managers and board members of corporations who want to maintain the status quo. So it is a system that is already in place that the opposition parties are supposed to be able to confront. And one thing is very obvious: it will take a system to defeat a system. So when the opposition refuses to come together and work in tandem to be able to see that they are common, in fact, they are not enemies to one another. They have one person or one system that is their focus, which is the ruling party that they are supposed to beat. And then they come in a meeting and they are still in dispersed ranks. One thing is obvious, Mr. Leo. I remember a scripture, a scenario in the Bible about the Tower of Babel. As far as that particular scenario is concerned, God said, these guys are united, and because they are united, there is nothing that could stop them, and was able to bring division among them so they cannot be able to go on with their evil agenda. It is very obvious, even as Amos 3:3 says, two cannot work together unless they agree. The first thing you want to ask the political parties is, do you agree that your common enemy is, or your common opponent, not enemy, your common opponent is the incumbent? If you agree, yes, what are you bringing on board to be able to see that the incumbent is defeated? And if right now we are still having the issue of division among the various political parties, because as far as my assessment is that you have two groups of coalition. You have the younger generation, you have the older generation also having their own clique. And so I'm trying to simply say it's going to be very worrisome if the opposition does not adhere to the call of the Cameroonian people and decide that they're going to work in dispersed and automatically we have 7 more years to be with the regime.
I want us somebody to clarify on this. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Please ask Dr. Dimancho if his suggestion is that there should be nothing like a coalition. How would they have gone into a coalition before Elekam and Constitutional Council verdicts? You know how destabilizing the regime is. If this came up before now, is he not discouraging what many Cameroonians are clamoring for? Please, let's stop confusing Cameroonians. He's saying so because the opposition parties actually met in Fumban. They met for 3 days in Yaoundé, at the end of which there is still no consensual candidate. They did not agree on anything substantial. But do you agree with him or her that there was no need to create a coalition before going to Elekam and the Constitutional Council?
No, I don't agree. A coalition is not something that you get up and build for 6 months, especially for a presidential election, for a system that has been there for 43 years. And let me just take us in retrospect in the same Africa that we are. When we look at what is happening currently in Kenya, they are scheduling a presidential election in 2027. But it is as though the election is taking place in 2026. Opposition parties have started mobilizing, coming together to see how they can work together. It is during this period where you can know who can betray you and you form a veritable force and you share one common vision. You don't just get up to say, the common ideology that Cameroonians are saying is that no, the regime is mischievous. If they announce a coalition, they will puncture it. Puncture what and why? And it means that you don't know the essence of being an opposition party. If you say they'll puncture, who will puncture it? It means that you yourself, you are not even ready. Because if you are ready, nobody can puncture it. Let me give a clear example that we keep saying that they'll puncture. When is it that the government did not know that these people will go and submit their candidacies? Can something hide from the government? The government has intelligent information everywhere. The government know the course you make. If they want to know the course you make, they will know. If they want to know the people you visit, they will know. So there is nothing strange or nothing hidden where if they want to puncture it or puncture it. Do you think that the government was not aware that Chuma was going to resign? Do you think that they were not aware from intelligent information that Bello was going to resign? Were they not aware that they were going to table their candidacy? When people are saying that no, they will puncture what? It means that our opposition parties in Cameroon are not matured enough to become opposition parties. If you have that kind of reasoning, that's why we are saying that as opposition parties, this coalition was supposed to have been done beforehand. Look, let's go back in retrospect in this same Cameroon, the Union for Change. Was the coalition? Did they build a coalition 3 months to the election in 1992? It wasn't. It wasn't 3 months to the election. It was something that they have been working upon. If you talk to Yondon Black, he will tell you. If you talk to Mr. Juken Chamani, he will tell you. 1990. They started since 1990. It's not something that they just got up in the eve of the election and said that, okay, was this not the same region? Why did the same region not puncture it at the nick of time when they had the Union for Change? What I'm saying in essence is that we Cameroonians, regardless of our political party, like today, Mr. Jume left Boya, Limbe. The traffic on the road, did it segregate a political party? No. In it, he had CBDM member. In it, he had PCRN. In it, he had SDF. In it, he had even people who said nothing will happen. That is the language we are all united. We are all united by bad roads. We are all united by bad economy. We are all united by electricity. Now, if we share this one common vision, we cannot come together and work and look at where we agree more and where we don't agree more. And even look at the same thing, Nigeria, like he said, is going for election in 2027. There's an ADC coalition which is ongoing now. This coalition, they are holding talks back to back. It is 2027, no? So do you think that Buhari don't want to puncture this coalition? If you have the people's interests at heart, if you have clear manifesto, you live to your manifesto, nobody can influence you except you are an egoistic and a personalistic person. There is the concept I have developed that personalism and patriotism, there's a fine line. Personalism is the ability where you put up a public show that you are fighting for the general interest, of which you are fighting for your personal pocket. Whereas patriotism is that show that you put fighting for the general interest, regardless of where you stand. And as of now, most of these guys are personalistic.
Okay. Konde Ungu, you are the militant of the PCRN. You are not CPRN.
Party for National Reconciliation.
Yes, you are not part of the conclave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
We were not part of the conclave not because we were not supposed to be there. Actually, as an opposition party, we were supposed to be there. But we need to bring ourselves back to history to understand. I agree with what Doctor said. Doctor rightly said that a coalition is not all about just meeting yourselves a day and agreeing what you have to do, you know. Even between a marriage of two couples, you need to understand yourself. You need to bring things together. And we already understand that even with what happened in the 1990s, the opposition parties coming together to vote to take the candidacy of Nijon Frunzi, it was a very good coalition. But what we see now today is that the proliferation of political party and what the government has been doing. Remember what happened with the ATP and all the alliances, pre-electoral moments. Things happen which we understand that the government never wanted us to coalesce. So I want to make us to understand that the Cameroon's Party for National Reconciliation and Honorable Kabara Libya has always wished for this type of conclave, as we call it. And in 2018, we remember what happened. He called for a primaries. What was the real reason of the primaries? Is what, just like what Doctor said, is to come together, bring out your terms, bring out your possibilities. As he rightly said, there are some candidates who are very old. There are some candidates that they have a dynamic followers, and maybe they want a federalism with 2 states. They want a federalism with 10 states. And the Cameroon's Party for National Reconciliation is considering a federalism with 30 states, just like what is happening in other nations. And they rejected. So many people rejected. He even said they should lock them into a room, the opposition parties, and they will vote for each individual without voting for themselves. You understand? So that they can bring together a unique candidacy, and it was not possible. I will not say we don't want a unique candidacy for this presidential 12th of October presidential election. Just like what the pastor said, you know, if there is unity, there is power. But remember, still in that same Bible, when Goliath was terrorizing the people, people went with unity, and he took just the small stone of David, who was not even perceived as that person who could even do something to make a change before Goliath. So I really believe that, as he rightly said again, there is possibility that if there is no union, a unique candidate, just like what Doctor said in the other countries, can make a change in Cameroon. We just need to make the people, the electorate, which we have been working with since 2017, that here is the time. Here is the time for us to mobilize, to understand the project, each and everyone's project. Like just what I'm trying to explain to you, that coming together is bringing our projects together. If you understand the Cameroon's Party for National Reconciliation's project, especially for the Anglophone people, you understand, community federalism as his vision is much of what we want. It's an autonomy which we have always request for, we have always begged for. Community federalism is giving us the possibility to have autonomous community regions. If you are with me, Doctor, if you put it on a plate if you put it on a table and say you want 2 states, which is the best to give us autonomy, 2-state federalism, 10-state federalism, or 30-state federalism, you understand that if we need autonomy in this country, we need to give people we need to go down to the grassroots and give them autonomy, which is 30-state federalism, which is the best of which I think. So I really believe the coalition can work. We still have time. There are some people, even the last presidential election of 2018, I remember what happened with Akere Muna, Batoni Akere Muna. I'm sure it was at the verge that he declined, and his 30 million could not be reimbursed, and all the rest. We still have time. We still have time to think and reflect on a unique candidacy, but we need to look deeply into our projects. We need to look deeply into what and who we are putting before us. Is it a person who is coming with the same aspiring umbilical cord of France? Is it the same person with the same mission as what the pastor said, you know, Chiruma and Bello Buba? They are coming again with the same program of the CPDM. We need to look vividly into these things and understand ourselves better before going into a coalition. But still remaining, Cameroonians must not be discouraged. Why? Because still a David can make a change in this nation.
Okay, Cameroonians should not be discouraged. Do you understand that that is also where the problem is? Many persons rush into this coalition issue already setting boundaries without keeping the floor flat for everybody to come into the house, the doors open on the same wavelength, everybody comes and then they decide on how to move forward.
Yeah, there's this haste that people out of, I don't know whether it's out of zeal, zest, I mean, just to get into the presidential race. I don't know what is happening, because I really think that there are a lot of things, a lot of opposition parties or leaders didn't premeditate before taking decisions. There is this show that we even saw during the process with the ELECAM and the Constitutional Council, where a lot of people just came, to gain some kind of credibility in the world. Some came to make some buzz, Well, I mean, we listen to some people the way they talk. And of course, there is a winner in this thing. One Besimping, who of course was now got that visibility and was invited by the Minister of Public Service. And further, he went to the Minister of Finance. I saw him, he was being given a car. And I mean, the car was CA. And I was asking myself, what CA was that?
Finance today.
Voila, of course. I saw him when he was welcomed back to his village. I mean, like the whole village came out back to welcome him. Yeah, instead of president. So you now see why some people went there. It was not for a collective good, but it was much more for individualistic kind of, aspirations. That said, let me, first of all, with your permission, go back to the person who asked a question about whether we don't think that the government can track people if the coalition comes earlier. You can only have that thought when you are egoistic. Because even to me, let the government track almost all the politicians and even leave one. That will even be good for us. That we have that one and all the others rally behind. But we have a situation in Cameroon where all the opposition leaders, they want to be president. That is where the stalemate here. Let people know. The stalemate is because they are arguing who is going to be the president. This is where the problem is. I know that in terms of their manifesto and all, at least there can be some flexibility. They could try to come and look at the 12 parties. I mean, leaving the CPDM out. What difference do they have in manifestos? It's almost the same thing. Apart from the fact that there's that federalism community that the Pessaran is talking about, but of course it is still going back to the grassroots, because most manifestos that you look at, exactly, most manifestos that you have, they are people centered. Those manifestos look at the grassroots. It's just that the way in which that is going to be lived is what brings the difference. But it is the same thing, and they can easily modify it. But what I'm saying is that most of their problems come from the fact that each and every person wants to be the president, and which is wrong. Yes, and that is why people will spend 3, 4, 5 days, and they will not come with any conclusion. And I'm saying that in a country like Cameroon, we were supposed to be very, very selfless, knowing the suffering that we have gone through. And if people should think that, okay, the government is following over, okay, if these political parties are really together, if they really feel that a coalition is important, do you know one thing they can do to punish the government? Let them stay up for the elections. Let all of them declare that they're not going for elections. Can the CPDM organize election alone? It will not work.
That's the objective.
It will not work. Let me tell you, it is all egoism. Because all of them, if they even think that they are cross purposes because of one thing or another, there is one thing they can do in common. If not that they are too egoistic, let them say they are not going for elections to show that they love Cameroonians. But all of these things is a show. And that is why we are picking who's with them. We are saying that these guys who are going is what Francois Baez calls in his book, Apology to Vange. All of them are going to defend their bellies and their families. And that's why, the musician will sing Ma vie a changé, because tomorrow it will not even be for the collective good, it will be for the good of the family and the village. So we need to have people who are objective. What I am actually saying is that, yes, if a coalition fails and people think that they still need to go for elections, I think that Cameroonians, you are not that you know exactly who you can vote for. We can never say that you should not go and vote. What I'm merely saying is that I champion wholeheartedly with my strength, my financial pocket and all, to at least meet most of these opposition parties, and we talked face to face about this issue of coalition. And then at the end of it all, I've seen that it's all about, what will I gain? What will I gain? Or where will I be if this comes? The issue is humility is one of the major issues that is supposed to be discussed in the coalition.
Okay, thank you. One of the potential consequences, if these guys go into these 2025 elections without a solid coalition?
You see, Mr. Leo, imagine you preparing for an exam, and your examiner tells you what we call quote and unquote speco, what you must be able to do in order to succeed in the exams, and coaches you very well in preparation. The population that we constitute in Cameroon have been able to coach Cameroonians, I mean the politicians, enough to say, you know what, we know how the game plays. The only way you can enable us, give you our mandate, is by you coming together. Because, Mr. Lee, let's tell ourselves the truth. Let's look at all the other political parties. Let's be very practical. Bello Buba, Issa Chiruma have strength in the north. Cabral Libi has strength in the littoral part of center. Joshua Osi has strength in littoral part of southwest. What are the other names? They have segments of strength distributed nationwide. You cannot win the presidency of Cameroon with regional popularity. It doesn't go. So there is an indispensable need for these guys to tell themselves the truth. Because until we tell ourselves the truth, that see, okay, I have strength in the north, you have strength in the south, you have strength in the center, you have strength in the west. Let us mutualize our effort and do the needful. If these guys don't get that done, and the government plays on it very well, they know very much well that if these guys don't get onto a mutual effort, they will be able to disperse their energy. Because, Mr. Leo, must tell ourselves, whatever you focus on magnifies. If these politicians decide to say they give us one candidate, we'll now have a plethora of different ballot papers to want to choose from. We will say, okay, everybody is supporting candidate A or candidate B. So if this guy say, no, I can go solo, will you be able to deploy polling agents in all of the national territory? The answer in the affirmative is no. You just mentioned during the introductory remarks that they were talking about how they are going to do representation in terms of electoral, in terms of the polling units. The question is, with whose money? With whose money? With which human resource? We must be very, very practical, Mr. Leo. These particular elections in 2025, as I say it all the time, if you put 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, it gives you 9. And I tell people Cameroon is pregnant, and whether we like it or not, we're going to give birth as far as these elections are concerned. So when you ask, what are the consequences? The consequences are very simple. Each candidate will major in his region or area of strength, and at the end of the day, give a leeway to the incumbent who has representation nationwide. And the issue of change that all Cameroonians are clamoring for, or a question of Cameroonians are clamoring for, even within the CP, then there is a clamor for change. Which simply means, if, for instance, the opposition parties don't do the needful in coming together, the people who are clamoring for change within the CP then will say, okay, we will remain hopeful that maybe when we give our candidate another mandate, he will be able to bring the change required. Politics is a game of numbers. It's not about trying to say, I am this or I am that. The question is, do you have the numbers in order to win? And as far as the stakes are currently concerned, Joshua Osi, Akere Muna, Cabral Libi, Belububa Maigari, Issa Chiroma, and the rest of them know very much where they have pockets of strength across the board. If they don't neutralize it, the incumbent and his party will definitely just take a ride.
Okay, we'll take a ride. Is it too late? Or we still have time for that?
It is better late than never, as President Pobia said in 2014 when he visited Boya. And I think that we are almost seeing the same playbook repeating itself. Issues repeating itself for us. In 2018, we had the same conclave. It's not like it's new. We had the same conclave in 2018, meetings upon meetings upon meetings, and finally no candidate. We didn't have one unified candidate, and it was only Barrister Kremuna, which I think 2 days to the election announced that he is officially endorsing Professor Maurice Kamto at the time. And that did not that actually also affected the election, because people still went and voted for him. How do you go back to these villages and tell people that don't pick this ballot? Because people already, before the information, it takes time for the information to go. And that's why we are saying that if this coalition comes even at the nick of time, before the campaign starts, it will also be beneficial, because they will have time to go around villages now with this particular voting material that, okay, it is this one, not me, is this one, that my way hand they so punai, that way fire they so punai, because the people in the rural areas, whether we like it or not, are the people who actually turn out en masse to vote, because they don't have a lot of distraction. Unlike the people in town that have a lot of distraction, that before they want to know 6 p.m. has passed, you are replying to an email, you are watching a program, you are doing this. The man in the village knows that, hey, now election time, bam, they are ready, they are active. And to be very honest and fair with you, if we don't have a strong coalition as of now, before the date of the October 12th, then we are dealing with high level of greedy politicians who are personalistic. I will say, for example, let's go by data numerically. I'm happy Mr. Njebe has pointed it out. Numerically, we had 3.3 million something in 2018 election. And of the 3 million, majority of those who voted for the CPDM based on brother or sister or cousin. CPDM has a very strong coalition. The coalition is in 3 facets. 1, it is with opposition parties who join the majority. 2, it is with civil rights groups, people who want to identify themselves. Like there were some elders from the Basaland that went to
call themselves the Bombok.
The Bombok, and we have been having. Today we had the imams. And you start seeing this block of people going. The next step is the ministers. Let me tell you, people vote in a village not because they are voting for President Pobia. I vote this minister because if this minister come out, we no go get minister again.
Absolutely.
I vote this minister because I don't promise you can't take my picking. Whether the promise will be kept or not, you can take my picking go inam. The minister be talk why you know be take my picking go inam because they will not be vote actively. Now we go vote. They are not voting that mean President Pobia. Let's get that. That's a coalition in itself. So that coalition, to defeat that particular members who have formed that coalition, it is so difficult. Now it takes a strong unified coalition to win. You don't have national representative. We have a regional representative. We have 25,000 polling stations, not cells. You can imagine the number of cells that can be. 25,000 polling stations. How many of these political parties can actually cover 25,000 polling stations?
30,000.
It's 30,000.
30,000 now, okay. Can actually cover 30,000 polling stations with observers across the nation who cannot be compromised. Keyword, cannot be compromised. The ability with a coalition is because a faction, you cannot easily compromise people who have regional bloc. For example, if my party is in a particular region, I have die-hearted people I can say go here. But if I'm not in that region, if I'm just a particular region, I want to go national. Who controls in Ediabato? Who controls in Nwangankele? Who controls in Widikum? Let me tell you, the same script that operated in 2018. Post-electoral petition, we will see the same script. These people are not even. I'm expecting a coalition to tell us that okay, our major battle will be in the northwest and southwest region. That's where the voters' eyes should be. Like in 2018, they came and said, "No, you never pay election. No, so you never pay election, Mr. Chief Justice. We were in northwest. I drove here. There was no election, but he showed the procès verbal. Who signed here? This was procès verbal. Elections took place. We will still have that same cry that there were no elections in Northern South. We know. What are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? We know that most of the votes, just wait now, most of the votes will come, you hear how many thousand. So that is why the coalition is very important. This is a system. Now, let me also give you another kicker. Another kicker here, why the coalition is of very important is because you have people who are aiming that if the president wins, they will appoint them. This is another coalition I forgot to mention. I'm mentioning now. Former ministers who are believing that maybe this time they should add their voice, they will appoint them. You have also youths who have been told that if you go and give motion of support and you've helped, you will be in a better place. What are our opposition parties doing? They have one mission, And that one mission is just to see that, okay, if they are claiming, all of them are claiming transition. Let us look at Bello Buba. Bello Buba is talking about 2 mandate, no renewable, 5 term. Chuma is talking about 2 mandate, no renewable, 1 mandate. That he will go for 1 mandate to a 2 mandate, no renewable, 5 years. Yes. You have others. All of them share almost the same, eh? So what is the issue? Dr. Timacha pointed out. It is, I want to become Mr. President. It's me, Mr. President. And so you risk it. And I want to assure Cameroonians that some people may not want this coalition to succeed because they know that whatever comes to the table, there's 2016, 2026, which I can negotiate my council, and I can still do my business with the ruling government. So I don't care whether, if you accept me, better all of us, we all lost. That's the situation.
No. I just wanted to key in with what he's saying, because Mr. Leo, we had media reports that when Issa Chiroma backed out of government and Beloba backed out of government, the head of state sent someone to go meet them.
The Prime Minister.
It therefore means the regime is already aware that their living government affects the base in the north. And for them to be able to want to talk, why have they not talked with other political parties? Why are they talking with Bello Buba and Issa Chiroma? Because they understand the political dynamics in the north. And like you rightly said, people simply want to have roots where they belong so they can better negotiate better deals. Yeah, so it is important for Cameroonians to be aware that this is what is going on, and be watchful.
Yeah. Be watchful. Should you, what's the CPRN doing as we speak? I know that the national president and yourselves, you guys are on the ground, but are you working, discussing with people for a possible coalition? And how helpful is that going to be, given that almost every ballot paper of all those validated now are going to be on the polling stations?
I remember Honorable Cabral said he is always open for a coalition. But the main issue is having a primary, is sitting together, understanding ourselves, bringing our projects together. What I want to make us understand is that we give ourselves this notion that without a coalition nothing can happen. Before the coalition, let me explain something to you. I don't know if it's your plan B, but let me explain something to you. We have, before the coalition, we have a problem of electoral code. Is it a problem or it's not a problem? It's a problem. We have a problem of the crisis in the north, who has engulfed the electorates of the SDF, true or false. It's a problem, but we are still going for election. We have 380 polling stations in the southwest. Majority of those are found maybe in the barracks. Majority of those are found maybe in the chiefdoms, like what your leader said. Is it a problem or is not a problem?
My leader, I don't belong to any political party.
I thought you said SDF.
I said he is sitting in for the SDF.
Okay.
Member
so
was
we
supposed to
have
be
all
there.
these problems together, but we are still going for a conclave. We are still looking for a way to go for elections, whereas it's a problem. So if we cannot sit together, what is our plan B? Because we already had so many problems before going for this plan which we are having for the conclave. So if we cannot go for the conclave, if we cannot agree unanimously to bring a candidate, are we going to sit down and discourage the electorate? No, we are not going to sit down. There is still a plan B. What is the plan B? We have the civil society, we have the journalists. We are supposed to make it clean. You understand? Make a fair game for about those presidential candidates going in for election. Bring out their projects. Organize them to come maybe in a panel and present their projects to you. For the electorates to understand, if in case there is no conclave, who are we going to vote for? Because obviously, as Doctor said, we cannot discourage them to vote. We cannot discourage them to vote. So we should bring out their projects. Let the electorate. I know it's very impossible. Let me say, like a village like Wakaso in the north. There are some villages that do not have internet. They don't have TV stations. Maybe they are just working based on what maybe the CPDM will propose to them, or maybe parties who are around. But we should make the civil society and the journalists to understand that it is their role to play the plan B. The same as Honorable Cabral, and the Cameroon's Party for National Reconciliation, we are working on Plan B, and we have always worked on a Plan B since 2018 or 2017, while working with the electorates to register them massively on the electoral list. And after 2018, working on having implantations in the hinterland, representations in the hinterland who will stand for us, either municipal or presidential election, to guard this ballot box. We also propose that even if we are not going for a conclave, there is a possibility for us to merge ourselves together, look for these voting points which maybe SDF is represented and UDC is not represented, and Cameroon's Party for National Reconciliation
for representation across,
so that we should have much representation, so that when they say bring the PV, like what happened with the MRC, bring the PV, you don't have any PV. So we should organize ourselves.
I think that is one of the points agreed on by these guys of the conclave. They agreed on that. But
so
what actually Cameroonians are waiting for?
It is possible that the Plan B, because as we rightly said, it might not work just like in 2018. So what do? We can't just stand there. We can't just stand there. We need a Plan B, and it's just working together with the civil society, with the journalists, maybe to bring the projects in, so that the electorates to understand who are you voting for. Are you voting for an old man who is already old and dilapidated, waiting for the presidency to extend his health conditions, and leave the Cameroonians with bad roads and bad hospitals?
Certainly, the president is not poor. I'm sure he's a very rich farmer. He's been doing
cultivates pineapples.
Pineapple. He has a lot of.
Who are we talking to? What are we talking about?
Please,
do you think to evacuate him because he's a farmer, he will evacuate him to Swiss just like that? But if he has a presidential power, it will be very easy.
That's not our topic. Yes, we are not talking about the health of presidential candidates here. Yeah, did you follow the letter by Archbishop Samuel Kleda, and how did you find it? He is your bishop.
Yes, of course, and my bishop is always right. He has that infallibility that we believe in. Yeah, because we know that what comes from a man of God is premeditated, and he has prayed over. It's just like Bishop Kuka, the Archbishop of Abidjan, the Cardinal of Abidjan, who went on retirement last December. And when he was addressing the politicians in Ivory Coast, I shed tears, because what he said is utterly a replica, is exactly what holds. Bishop Kuka told them, you are here now. Remember that when you outlived your usefulness, people will turn the love they have for you to hatred. And it's very, very important that when you stay for too long, when it's time to go, go. When it's time to leave power, leave. And I think that Monsieur Kleda is in that very step. He's squaring in. And this is not the first that he made. Remember his preaching on a Christmas Day, this last December, where he gave also an interview to RFI, which was very, very seminal. And in that interview, he was talking about not envisaging the President of the Republic going again for another mandate. For Bishop Kleda, this is something that we shouldn't even imagine. And when he comes back to this letter now actually is like what we call the terminator of all of it all, because he has even mentioned up to the issue of expenditure. And he said, he gave some facts that in 2018 we spent over 50 billion to organize elections, and that this year will be about 65 billion that we are going to spend to organize elections. He has the facts. And he is saying that, how can we be organizing election and we already know the winner? Or how can we take some political leaders to be scapegoats, to leverage them in order to win elections? And he is bitter about it. I think that this is what each and every person, whether a good person or a bad person, should say. Because whether you are as bad as one, because let me mind you, even those in government, they know what is right and know what is wrong. It's just that they do the wrong thing. They do what their conscience don't tell them. Yes, because they are constrained to do that. Their constraint comes first from egoism, personal interest that they have, and they are thinking only about their family. And now that thought about the family now drives them crazy. The craziness comes where you amass 50 billion francs that even you have, the next generation will eat and will still be there. That is now where the craziness comes from. The craziness comes from where you are as a minister, and you find in your department everything is going wrong, and you develop that kind of a thick mind that you will not even think about it, because like Ayinkwe Ama would say, chop a chop, country buruk. Now, these are some of the things that we look at that is going on in the government that Monsignor Kleda is trying to talk about. That at one moment, we should be honest. Remember, Monsignor Kleda is talking to his Christians too who are in government. And you know, even the President of the Republic, President is a Christian. I'm not only one who is a Catholic. The President of the Republic is a Catholic. And he is talking to his Christian. And he is saying, if this is actually what the Christians they do, it is wrong. It is good to change. He is not using a cane. It's just, it's just kind of sarcasm that he has used some kind. And you know, sarcasm after he's used in every year. And he is just bitter that in a real country that we say is a Christian country where Catholics count about 65%, we shouldn't see this happening. Because it is the image of the Catholic Church too that we are painting black. So who should else to talk apart from a bishop like that? Who is talking, in a letter that he has written, and that letter written words remain. And we think that anybody who is listening to Monsignor Kleda, be it a Christian or a non-Christian, has to do what we call an examination of conscience. You have to do an examination of conscience and ask yourself whether you are an atheist. Because even who we call atheists, they too have the moral standing in which they do their things. And you know that as an atheist, you know people have to eat. People need justice. People need good roads. People need to be protected. People need good health care. People need education. Even as an atheist, you even don't believe in God. What more? Monsignor Kleda is reminding all of us that there are certain basic things, moral rectitude, that we are forgetting and we are sending to, we are throwing behind us, and those are the things we are supposed to actually support, to kick against. When you spend that kind of a money, especially 65 billion francs, whereby, according to him, elections should even be postponed, because even elections are organized and they already know the winner, there's no use for elections. And therefore, instead of spending 65 billion, you should just simply say, we have postponed the elections. Of course, have we ever held elections on the same date, as expected? So we have to be able to listen to the man of God talking on his high throne, inspired by the Holy Spirit to talk to his people. And I think that it is only those who understand and live in that reign, should be able to understand and take action.
How significant is this outing, Raymond Jume? We've heard other bishops here, even him, he has been speaking severally. Does it actually cause an effect or impact at all?
Yes, Mr. Liu, when I listened, read through the outing of the bishop, I was like, wow, this is just another episode that has been written to the saints and talking to Cameroonians. It goes to corroborate the outing of the bishops last time about their pastoral letter, indicating that the government in fact, the current government in place have instituted structure, in fact, has implanted structures of sin. Remember, we had a program of that nature to be able to discuss these issues. But you see, Mr. Liu, I've said it on this platform multiple times that ministers of the gospel like the Reverend Bishop should go beyond just words. Because I believe that, like Doctor just mentioned a while ago, most of these state thieves are in our churches. And most of these extortioners are in our churches. So if you as a priest have members in your church who are not who claim to you, in fact, you serve them communion and you acknowledge them being members of your church, and you're seeing what they are doing, which is antithetical to good governance, the Bible gives you an instruction: dismiss them. Dismiss them from church because they are misrepresenting the Jesus they claim to believe in. So the question now is okay, it is preaching that he is preaching, he's preaching or he has preached to us. Will Cameroonians be able to heed to his call? He's asking Cameroonians to wake up and stop the nation from getting to utter destruction. It is a clarion call to let us understand that all is not well. And when the bishop is speaking like he's speaking, I remember another interview which the late Cardinal Toomey had. He said when he was speaking to some of his Christians who are state thieves, he asked them, are you guys who were raised in the church part of the embezzlement scheme? He said, they said, yes, we are, but it's just that with our own case, we don't steal like the others steal, and we feel a bit remorseful when we do it. You see, Mr. Leo, it is very important that when ministers of the gospel talk, they should walk their talk. We are waiting to hear disciplinary measures meted on government officials who are not doing the needful. Because Mr. Leo, you and I are aware. The Bible says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. It therefore means if you tell somebody, I am a Christian, you are not just a Christian by the fact that you are attending either the Catholic Church, the Presbyterian Church, the Baptist Church, Apostolic, Full Gospel, any other ministry. The issue is, do you have godly character? And I believe the Bishop is just trying to tell us that a cross-section of the hypocrites we have in church, who call themselves believers, who work in the public services, are not doing what is needful, and is telling us as Cameroonians, who are the employers, to let us know that coming the 12th of October, we should be able to endeavor that we recruit somebody else who can be able to manage state affairs. But now this is the twist, Mr. Leo. Elections are not just physical. Elections are also spiritual. Because governance, as we all know, has a spiritual undertone. We know princes and, of course, principalities and powers that govern territories. The question I'm asking ministers of the gospel out there is, what are we doing with the spiritual leverage we have in order to be able to contend the darkness and the forces of darkness that are currently in this country? Because the other day, Mr. Leo, I saw a banner over Yaoundé, where Freemasons were having their conclave at the level of the nation's capital. These are issues which we expect our reverend gentlemen to say we can't tolerate some of these excesses. So with the outing of the bishop, I think it's a clarion call for each and every one of us to ask ourselves a question: are we willing to go the same route, or we are willing to make a change? And one thing which is obvious is that I have observed that the regime in place has taken advantage of the poverty situation in this country, you understand, to be able to leverage on many Cameroonians. And that is why some people will like, okay, I'm going to vote, but I have to collect a 10,000 francs, collect a 20,000 francs. I've had the privilege to monitor and observe elections. People come to the polling booth waiting for who will give them a 5,000, who will give them a 10,000. And these are the same Cameroonians who don't know they are selling their future for the next 7 years. So when the bishop comes out the way he does and doing what we call a lamentation for the nation, I believe Cameroonians should be able to listen and be rest assured that moving forward in as far as the elections are concerned, they make informed choices. Because many persons, we must ask ourselves one question. Cameroon is a company, and of course in a few months we're going to be recruiting who will manage Cameroon's company. And the question is age a factor? Affirmatively, yes. While some people say we shouldn't mention the aspect of age, but I've asked a question a couple of times. Can you, watching us this evening, be able to, when you have a company and people put up their CVs to be employed, you understand, ask for an 80 years person to manage your company? The answer in the affirmative is, okay.
We are not doing anti-campaign for any candidate.
I have not mentioned. I am trying to simply say,
let's be fair to everyone.
Okay,
yes.
okay. What I'm trying to say, Mr. Liu, is that Cameroonians should be able to look at themselves to the face and know that the choices that they will make on the 12th of October will birth consequences. The Bible is very clear. Don't be deceived, for God cannot be mocked. Whatever you sow, you will reap. We are reaping today the seeds we have sown for the past 30 years, for the past 20 years, for the past 7 years. Okay. And if we choose to sow the same seeds, the good news is we'll have the same results, Mr. Leo.
Okay. Actually, he captions it as he urges Cameroonians to save the country from slow death. What does he mean by that?
The bishop is not blind to the fact that our economy is going down the drain. The bishop is also not blind to the fact that many Cameroonians are giving up, and he's also not blind to the fact that many Cameroonians are dying at the hospitals because they cannot afford for better medical care. The bishop is also not blind to the fact that the take-home packages of many Cameroonians in the private sector can barely take them halfway home for them to trek conveniently. The bishop is also not blind to the fact that many people miss mass because of bad roads. The bishop is also not blind to the fact that accidents and people are being killed on a regular basis. Even some of the masses that are being celebrated for the death are as a result of bad roads. they are not blind to this fact. And they are also not blind to the bishop is also not blind to the fact that it takes a political decision to go to church. Because if you are not in a peaceful environment, the church will not hold. If you are not in a good environment that has good roots, the church will not hold. If you are not well fed, you will not go to church and listen to them to the homily. Mr. Anjume is a preacher, you understand this fact. If you are disturbed politically, whatever message that is on the altar. So that is why the bishop is talking about slow death. Slow death simply means that our economy is going down, and he believes that if this same system persists and continue, it will be worse. Because look at where we have been and where we are currently right now. We are in an economy, we call it a diminishing return. Because if you look at what we can add, the money value has actually dropped. Money value is what money can buy in terms of goods and services. That is, if 1,000 francs can buy a bucket of cocoyam, the value for a bucket of cocoyam of 1,000 francs is a bucket of cocoyam. But now let's ask ourselves the question, can 10,000 actually buy something that it used to buy in the last 7 years? So the money value has dropped. So that's what the bishop is talking about, slow death. And I want to appeal to the consciences of those who are at the altar of God. Because the Bible says in the book of Romans, as quoted by our illustrious minister in Kumba, which reminded me about that verse, I think it's Romans 13, says that all authority on earth is appointed by God. That if a leader, we have a leader today, is because God wants that leader to be. And I want to appeal to our men of God that please, our leaders, whether they are members of the opposition or they are members of the current government, are either in your church. I want to also appeal to those who are the traditionalists. For those who are not part of your church, those who are traditionalists, they are in your church. And today, behold, we saw how the imams came out and say, okay, we are with President Paul Biya. It reminds me of the rectorate we had some last time when we were told that religious people should stay off politics. We're reminded we can still, it's vividly clear. But today we are seeing a religious faction being involved heavily in politics. And that done on question why bishop, that's why the bishop is clear that.
We hear the Secretary General at the presidency equally received bishops today.
We are waiting for the pictures.
Yes, I've not seen the confirmation.
Yes.
But I hear he had a meeting today with the bishops.
We are waiting for the pictures. If he has, and if they pledge their 100 support to President Paul Biya,
no, maybe to pray.
No, I'm saying if. I'm using the word if, because from what we read from the imam is different from the prayer. We were not told that they were prayers. We were told that they were actually giving their support. Now the bishop, Cleda, is not the first time that he has been vocal. And it's not the second time. Remember that even before we had the bishop in Yogwa that talked about the fact that the better devil, Bishop Cleda had actually made a statement. And there's something about the altar. Bishop Cleda is not talking based on the fact that he is a bishop. He is that personal Christy. He is a person whom in Kali Church we consider that he's sitting in the position of Christ. And if you look at the amount of money that is being spent on this election, and many are still asking the question, is it even necessary? Because we have close to 70 billion that is supposed to be invested in this election. And we know, like my brother of the president said, no one party can win the election. I will say categorically clear that they know that one party cannot win this election. It is clear. Save this video for October when the elections will be declared. That I said, and I'm repeating, that one party can never win presidential election in Cameroon. Looking at this dispensation, we quote example of other nations. There is something that we miss out in element of analysis, which we call the socio-demographic factors. The socio-demographic factor, what makes Cameroonian unique, is that of the fact that we have been so used to suffering that 1,000 francs can corrupt. Remember, the problem is not to deploy 30,000 polling agents. The problem is how to preserve them from being corrupt at the police unit. Remember, because at the Constitutional Council, people were saying that whole process verbal went up and down. They brought process verbal. They asked them, is this not their people who signed here? They could not answer. They signed. So at the end of the day, that's why coalition is better, because you cannot easily bribe all the polling agent, because the coalition agent know the party who goes into coalition know what he will not gain if that coalition does not go through. If the vote is stolen, he knows, he invests. He himself will invest in his constituency to make sure that he protects the vote. And that's why I'm telling Cameroonians.
That's why Samuel Kleda is calling on the conscience of
yes, but the issue is you cannot rely only on the consciences. You cannot rely only on the consciences. For how many years we have been calling on the consciences of Cameroonians?
What happened in 1992?
There was a coalition.
Yes. Are religious leaders morally obligated to speak out on political issues? Is it their place?
I really think practically from 1944, during the creation of the first syndicate in Cameroon, influenced by missionaries, sure Paul Ojulat, and subsequently, even after independence, we remember there were so many priests who stood behind the Aijo, and subsequently we have had Cardinal Tumi and Samuel Kleda and so many other Catholic priests who have been standing against what is happening in Cameroon. What I really think it's they are in their place. They are rightfully in their place. Why? Because they do not only preach, they govern these people they preach to. They are obliged, just the same like the Muslims. It's a norm for me for you as a priest to meet your congregation and tell them what is right and what is wrong. If we have lived for 43 years and we don't have roots and we don't have light, the bishop is in his place to say, no, enough is enough. Let's vote for change. What I would like to make us understand, and the Cameroonians watching us, is that these people are a part of, these are Cameroonians. These people they will play a very big role even in these coming elections. And just like what is prescribed in the manifesto of Rupture and Development, they are supposed to be the members of the Senate. You know, the advisory council are supposed to be them. That's 40% of them, like what we prescribe in the manifesto of Rupture and Development. So we really believe that they are in their place, and we are not going to die. We are not going to die. Normally, I really understand what the Monsignor Samuel Kleda is trying to give out to the Cameroonians. Is just beckoning on their conscience, just telling them that please, it is time for change. Be you CPDM, be you SDF or UDC or any other political party, or even in the civil society, if you have the obligation to vote and you have your voter's card, check on your conscience. Check on your conscience and go and vote for change. I really believe there is nothing strange about that. An individual candidate can make a change in Cameroon if and only if we can touch the conscience, just like what Monsignor is doing, to touch the conscience of each and every individual. It's not only about the conclave. It's not only about the conclave. So many things can happen. We have heard even the preacher here saying that it is possible. Not that it's not possible. It is possible. The will of God is not merely what humans play around with. Things can happen. Things can change, and the conscience of people can be touched for them to vote for change. And I really believe what Monsignor Kleda is saying is it's very possible that the conscience of the people can really be touched. Okay,
consciences of people should be touched. Now, we hear more from the Catholic bishops than we hear from other denominations, the Presbyterians, the Baptists. We hear very little from them. As far as our politicking is concerned in Cameroon, the Pentecostals also, they are quiet. What's happening? Is it that the Catholics are more confident? Do they have more authority? What's happening?
Of course, but
God does not listen to the prayer. When it comes to politics, God does not listen to the prayers of others.
It depends on the power that the Catholic Church wields in Cameroon. For that one, nobody can gainsay. The Catholic Church wields quite some power.
The Holy Spirit does not know church.
Let us leave about the Holy Spirit aside. Let us
church.
not even trouble the Holy Spirit. There is an issue of this interplay between the state and the church, which the Catholic Church is actually standing tall on that. And in everything, there's precedence. When you look at even the bishops talking, we have had somebody who who's spiritual heavyweight in Cameroon called Cardinal Tumi, who actually was not only recognized in Cameroon, but also externally, because you also think about that. Because when the state wants to also deal with you, they also see the weight, the influence you can have internationally. This is also some of the things we look at. Coupled with the fact that the Catholic Church too, in terms of population, is actually outweighing all the other denominations. That is enough for the church. Imagine that if the bishops of Cameroon tell their Christians that all the Catholic Christians should vote for a particular party, even in the north, that particular party will win. Because even in the north, we have a huge number of Catholic Christians in the north. So you see, this is what the play is all about, that they are thinking about what message can come from who, and if this message is actually taken into consideration, what impact is this message going to will. And I go to the third point. You talk about the structure of the Catholic Church. You see, the Catholic Church speaks in one voice in Cameroon. This one thing you should understand. The Catholic Church in Cameroon speaks in one voice. That's why we have what we call the Episcopal Conference. And yes, no, they are. They are. They are, even if they have some few people who just their name to do what they have to do.
Because
but no.
Some few people, but they are there.
No, listen, they are not even there. They are not even there. There is what they say, the ex-cathedral talking of the church, of the bishops. When the bishop talks, I mean, on behalf of the church, he has talked, even though the bishop is in charge of his own jurisdiction or diocese. But then there is what we call the Episcopal Conference. Any letter that comes from the Episcopal Conference covers the whole of Cameroon, and no bishop, no priest can go against it. This is what the beauty of the Catholic Church, that there is that hierarchy, there is that respect, that you are where you are because you have been appointed. No Catholic priest will be appointed somewhere and you get, and then you are, maybe transferred and you hesitate. You hesitate, they cut their neck. Because in the Catholic Church there is that respect, that is sacrosanct. That is the first thing that matters. And that's why it comes down right from Rome. That even in Rome, it is like that, it is stratified. And that when they say you are here, you are here. Because there's a belief that in the God's kingdom there is order. And therefore, that order should not only remain in heaven, it should also be here on earth with the Christians. That is what happens. So I think that it is also some of those things. Cardinal Tumbe has been one of those people who has been very, very vocal. When the Cardinal Tumbe spoke in Cameroon, people, they fix themselves. And it has happened. And who has taken over Cardinal Tumbe? It is Bishop Cleda. And remember too that the choice of choosing the bishop is also another issue which we must also take into consideration. It is not just any other bishop that will lobby to be canonized as a bishop. It is, you have been actually studied from all your life. Because let me just give an oversight about the procedure, that each year, each diocese, as a bishop in that diocese, you give a name of a possible bishop. Even if you are newly canonized, even if you will be there for 30, 50 years, each year you propose somebody who will be, if you are not there, he will be there. Because of the character of the person. And you do it spiritually and selflessly without any interest in it. So the Catholic Church has been vocal, and because they live with the people. They live with the people. When you look at the setting in Cameroon, the demography in Cameroon, you realize that not only is the Catholic Church Christians overflowing and abnormal, the Catholic Church is almost implanted in all the little villages that we have in Cameroon. This is one thing that other churches do not have. You go to some villages, you don't find some churches. Even the main churches, I would say Presbyterian Baptist, there are some villages where they are not. But in no village in Cameroon would you go. Anybody can make his own research. In no village in Cameroon will you go and don't see the Catholic Church.
No, there are many villages.
No, there are not. They may not be a parish as you see, but there is an outstation. Yes. Let me tell you, I'm telling because I'm from the day.
Because I also have a village now.
Yeah.
I don't have a Catholic church in my village.
Where even if there is no Catholic church around your quarter, the Catholic church
should be an outstation.
Yes, they should be. I'm telling you, I'm not saying I'm denigrating other churches. What I'm saying is just objective. Because this is what it has been. I'm not saying because I'm a Catholic. Because this is one thing, one of the things that even I myself sometimes, you know, that when the Catholic Church arrived, like in Cameroon, one of the things that they had to do was to get a lot of places.
Okay, away from that.
I was going to land because I asked the question.
We are talking about the bishop and his outing. Yes.
No, the bishop cannot talk alone. The bishop talks to the church because he represents the church. And I'm saying that the bishop is talking because he represents all the small Christians of the day. This is where I'm landing. I'm accumulating to say that is why the bishop has his strength. The strength is not the bishop. The bishop thinks about the suffering of the people in those small villages, where the priest lives, where the catechist lives, where those Christians live. And if the bishop does not talk in favor of those villages, it means that what? The people are going to turn against the bishop to say the bishop is not representing them. This is just what I'm trying to explain to say. It's not as if I'm garnishing the bishop with anything. I am saying that any tree that is strong, that is tall, and that stands still is supported by the many roots that are on the ground. And if the Catholic Church is speaking, it because it is supported by the many roots that they have in terms of the Christians in the village.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Liu. The Catholic Church is predominantly speaking because the Catholic Church is a country. It's a government. We are all aware that the Catholic Church has an ambassador sent to Cameroon by the Holy See. And so when the bishops are talking, they are talking on two ranks. They are talking both as the priests and they are talking as kings, representing the Catholic Church across the board. It is very important when you ask why are the Presbyterians, the Baptists, and the Pentecostals not talking. It's maybe because a couple of persons
are they praying in their houses?
No, the truth of the matter is, there is this philosophy of John the Baptist that when John the Baptist confronted Herod and told Herod that you are a sinner because you have taken your brother's wife, you understand, Herod arrested John the Baptist, and then later on his head was chopped off. So some preachers are, even though they boast of having eternal life in Christ Jesus, are afraid to lose temporal life. You get it? So many people are afraid of their life because to them, you don't talk against a state institution. But I want to make a little correction here,
okay.
Mr. Leo. Number one, when the Bible says all authority is of God, he's not talking about those in authority. He's talking about the governing structures, be it from the presidency to the parliamentarians to the judiciary to the SDOs to the least quarter head or chief in our different villages. These are the structures that are of God to be able to enhance human development in our various spheres of life. And so my co-panelists made mention of the fact that some people think that, everyone in authority is put there by God. I want to say no, because I want to read a scripture for you here. Hosea chapter 8 verse 4 says, they have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. That is what I want to say this evening, that people have become presidents that God does not know. People have become mayors that God does not know. People have become chiefs that God does not know. Why do I say so? It's not the end that justifies the means. It is the means that justifies the end. Therefore, if you rig elections and you become a mayor, as far as the scriptures are concerned, you are a mayor for the devil and not a mayor authorized by God. Why? Because the Bible says when the righteous are in authority, the righteous are those that choose to abide by the rule of law and those that are governed by the fear of God. So since we are in an elective season, it is very important that if we want to vote individuals into power, the first criteria should be those that first of all have the fear of God, because somebody said when you educate individuals without a fear of God, you have just simply educated intelligent devils, and we continue to have them across the board. I'm therefore trying to say, for those who are ministers of the gospel across the board, the Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and they that dwell in it. Those who make political decisions in this country and across the board affect us in the churches. So don't shy away, because God himself is the number one politician, but he's not involved in party politics. Why? Because God is in charge of governance. God is in charge of how people are administered. He's interested in the well-being of people. So men and women of God, educate your parishioners, educate your Christians to get involved in the political life of the nation. Because I said it the other day that if I were a reverend father and apostle, I will tell my Christians, if you're coming for the next communion service and you don't have your voter's card, I will not give you communion. Why? You must be interested in the well-being of your nation. You must be engaged as a nation builder, because one thing is obvious: you are in the world but not of the world, and have a responsibility to endeavor that the environment you find yourself is governed by godly values.
Yes, at this level, do we expect to hear more from the clergy? What about the civil society? You have been talking about them this far. What role should they also join in doing now?
I think the civil society should mobilize in terms of how they are going to help the opposition parties to monitor the election. and the civil society also should have a meeting to educate the voters on what they need to do during the election period, and how they need to know who is a genuine candidate or not. Because as we are moving towards this period, the next phase will be campaigns, and you will hear people will tell you how there will be a seaport in areas that have no river. You hear how they will tell you that they will build the roads in areas or skyscrapers in volcanic soil. And so the civil society in Cameroon has a lot to play. First of all, need to educate the voters on the location of the polling stations. If you ask how many polling stations and send units and we have, most of the civil society have not given that data out. They were supposed to actually be giving out that data, and to also give us the data on the biggest voting block so far, because
we still has to work on the last.
Yeah, but even if Eleka has to work, they too also have to go take from the last election, the data of last election.
We have the data of the last election, like what I'm saying. In the
political party. Yeah.
In Southwest, we still have 300.
Yeah, a political party. You have, because you should have, because a political party. I'm talking about civil society. You are into an election, so if you don't have, then if it's a problem, you should have.
I'm just trying to explain to you that the data is known.
Yes, what I'm saying is that it's known, but we are not. Civil society gradually they have taken stand in political parties. They are politicking. If you look at this election, this period, this 2025, it has opened our eyes of most. How do you explain the fact that you see civil society, someone that owns a civil society organization, openly campaigning for a party, a candidate, and telling you that no, it is not my organization? How do you distinguish between wine? I mean, a juice that has been mixed with water. How do you separate that? Our civil societies, for now, have one objective. The following objective: number one, educate the voters. Number two, educate community leaders. Number three,
maybe we should begin by citing the real civil society.
No, I'm just giving. I don't for now. They know themselves whether they are real or they are not real. They know themselves because they have been limited in sharing rice, and that's why we know them, sharing rice and soap and the rest. Now, the next issue, they should hold meetings with stakeholders, election stakeholders. You see this issue of coalition, the civil society has failed because they were supposed to be the mediators. Yeah. About this issue of coalition. They were supposed to be the one. We have seen in Nigeria, in the last election, 2022 presidential election, the civil society played a key role. We saw how the civil society played a key role in the Gambia when Yahya Jammeh never wanted to leave office. Do you know that it was the civil society that enabled Adama Barrow coalition to win Yahya Jammeh? Yahya Jammeh had to call and congratulate before changing his position, which was already late. We have seen how the civil society played a key role in John Mahama's re-election. They made the fee level. Instead, our civil society, they are not the ones calling for effective coalition. It is the masses that are talking for coalition. The civil society is actually quiet. And now that beats my imagination. I ask myself, do we have political civil society, or we have our civil society? If it was crisis, like Anglophone crisis, they would have gone there to share Maggie, because they know that their sponsors will give them money to go and share Maggie. They come and snap it and say, oh, we have shared Maggie. I'm not saying they are not doing their job. They are doing their job in one way or another. But in this period, they were supposed to be the referee. In fact, I expected to see civil society come together and grant a press conference about the state of Cameroon's democracy and looking at the electoral process. What Samuel Cleda has done, Bishop Cleda has done, was something that the civil society ought to have done. Because if we ask the question, how much are we going to spend on this election? How is it going to be used? What structures have been put in place? How Elekam has not officially, what has the civil society done? We're expecting to see a clear communique with civil society stating this, because the international community will take the civil society can come out. So Buba is a seller. He was minister of tourism. What did he do as a minister of tourism? Okay, so Pobia. Oh, Pobia has failed. Pobia has failed. Okay, go for election. Nothing can change in election. The same person. Oh, there's bad road. Cameroonians are actively working for Pobia to be re-elected. With that kind of attitude, it's a campaign for President Pobia. See, that's the vision we have of Cameroon, and that's why you see that each Cameroonian who refuses to vote has voted to endorse the current status quo. Each Cameroonian that insults a particular candidate has voted to endorse the status quo. Because if we have that, tell me one Cameroonian that will not complain about any political party. What I believe our opposition party too has, civil society has failed to call our opposition party in order, is that when you lost an election, don't automatically fully discredit the process, because there will be a next election. We are facing voter apathy today because in 2018 pre-electoral, post-electoral petition, almost all the political parties that appeared before Clement Atangana rubbish the process, rubbish election, rubbish the constitutional council. Even after the results were given, rubbish it. And the same parties went before the constitutional council for pre-electoral petition and expected a different result. How do you go to equity with the dirty hands and expect clean result? That is where the opposition, the civil society ought to call them in other whole conferences, that if you lose an election, then you can never fully change the system. Work around the system and see how you can benefit the society. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, the elections are coming. Those of us with our voters card, pick any party of your choice and vote. Because for now, I don't see a coalition coming in the next 50 days.
Okay, the PCRN may not agree with you, but are you working with members of the civil society? And I'll ask again, are negotiations ongoing with other political parties?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Liu. They are not only working with the civil society, but I really think they are working for the Cameroonian people. We are working for the best which we can have from the outcome of the 12th of October election. I really think it's not all about the civil society, it's all about Cameroonians, we Cameroonians working together. Why? Because the same job the civil society will do is the same job the electorate, any electorate or any Njangi group or any Cameroonian based anywhere maybe in the diaspora can do, just to influence the people, just to bring facts about political parties, to bring facts about what is happening in the nation, just like what Samuel Kleda just did, to tell the people that please go out and vote for change. But what peculiar it is for the civil society is this: working with the media, working with the projects of these political parties to elucidate the minds of the people, to make the people to understand better that this party you're voting for, Anglophones, this party you're voting for, those in the north, having diamond, working recklessly under the sun with no drainage, this is what this party is proposing for you. I think best that the civil society has much power. Maybe, as he rightly said, that they will be recognized internationally, maybe after post-electoral petitions, maybe going to the Constitutional Council again, working. I don't understand why we ourselves, we cannot even, especially the electorates, go closer to this civil society, maybe to push them maybe to come into an understanding that this is the period where they must go out and work hand in hand with the journalists, hand in hand with the political parties, to make it open to the people. If there is any query, I really think it's in the part of the regime in place. Why? Because they have worked so much maybe to keep this civil society down. They have worked so much maybe to keep the fear be still in these people, maybe to influence them even financially, as what he rightly said, that most of them maybe they are working for their pockets. But I really believe that we are supposed to take everything into our hands. We are supposed to understand ourselves. We are supposed to go closer to these political parties, even individually, and understand their project and their plan for us, so that we will vote the best choice in this 12th in this upcoming presidential election.
Okay, we are supposed to vote the best in the coming presidential elections. If you have one word for the coalition as Cameroonians see hope, and I think something good can come out of them, what is that?
Well, as I said, even though I'm bitter because they skipped skipped stages and they crossed the bridge before they even reached there. But I will still think that, as I said, elections Cameroonians should go to the polls. There is one thing they can do, because I know that at the end of it all, what happens, if they are really committed, parties, or if they have agreed on a single candidate, the other parties may do them endorsement, may say, I've given my vote to this, I've given my vote to this might give it. This can influence also the process, where the other 11 parties agree on one, and they all join, and they announce on a press conference to say that they have all weighed in, giving their weight to the particular party. But which, of course, I still think that is going to be difficult, because this dissemination of information also is a problem that we will have. But one thing I will say as a message of hope is that I started by quoting countries like Sudan, Malawi, and all of those that have had even much more autocratic government, and a single candidate at the end wins. We should understand that sometimes things turn out for dictators in the way that they do not even understand. I believe very much that sometimes there are some mistakes that they make that are very, very fundamental that cause even their reign. And if we take this into consideration, we can believe that even a single candidate at this point in time, if the Cameroonians decide, because the question is for Cameroonians to decide, the electorate to decide. Because even a coalition, it is still the electorate to decide on whether to woot the coalition or not. So it is not all dependent on the coalition. It is dependent on the Cameroonian people. And if they see that the coalition has failed, I still think that they could decide from their own consciences without thinking about the distraction that we had in 2018. Tribal politics, Sadina, Tontina, and all of those. Because these are some of the things that distracted people in 2018. If we can waive those things and ask Cameroonians, like Bishop Cleda has said, that we have to use our consciences and say that we have borne so much for so long a time. We remember what happened to Rosa Parks and the blacks in America in 1962, when Rosa Parks had to make this statement, refused to give her seat to a white, and pronouncing this word of anger, the words of anger, that we have borne so much for so long a time. There is need for a change. Cameroonians can take that decision and be able to choose who they think is the right person. Remember that in 1992, we started with a chunk of parties. The main principal parties were NUDP, the SDF, that were combating the CPDM before the other satellite parties, few of them who came. And it grew up, like that. In 1997, things, it started taking steam. And many people started coming in out of, the juice that flowed from the presidential race, and not because they wanted it. And I've said that most of the candidates who have come now, some of those, let us also consider that some candidates who have come for selfish reasons, but not all of them. But then we know those we can trust. We know those who have betrayed before. And I really ask myself that in politics, if you betray at one moment, you come to ask for forgiveness, that forgiveness should be given. Because in politics, I know that forgiveness is very difficult, especially when it comes to you luring people who have suffered for so long. We know those who are genuine. We know those who are coming because they just want to play to the gallery. But my message of hope is for those who have been working very hard. The problem is because sometimes we only look at individuals. We do not look at the party per se. An individual may come and he wants to play on the high horse. But let us look at how tall the party has stood in the past. And I think that if we look at these parties and dissect them, we will at least see some parties that we can trust.
Okay. Yes, one last word to the opposition as Cameroonians still hope that they get together to produce a unique candidate.
Cameroonians are looking for change, and we can find that change if we are willing to make a difference and we are willing to forgo our personal egos. Mr. Leo, it's very important for us to tell ourselves the truth. If we look at some of the outings of some of the members of the regime recently criticizing their fellow peers, it simply tells you there is a hunger for change even within the CPDM party. And the question that is begging for answers is, if we cannot find change within the opposition, can we find change within the ruling CPDM party? One thing which is very obvious is that we are mandated to make a choice because choices make or give room for consequences. Therefore, as we are trying to get ourselves ready to recruit the next employee who will man the company Cameroon, the question is, are you well informed about the projects that these individuals have? I know we have trust issues because we cannot trust people based on promises they have made. We can only trust them based on the track record of what they have done in the past. This is our country. None of us applied to be born in Cameroon. God, by his sovereignty, decided that you and myself and those of us on this platform will be born in Cameroon. And he sent us in Cameroon to make a difference. This particular here, choose the right candidate, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to decide the future of the country for the next 7 years. Don't forget, if you choose wrongly, the consequences will be wrong. If you choose rightly, the consequences will be right. And my encouragement to you is, make the right choice to give Cameroonians a bright future.
Okay. Be brief, please.
I want to say that nobody's begging. I'm not begging anybody to go and vote.
Okay.
It's all of us. If you vote, it means you want change. If you don't vote, you still all of us will be in the same position. Nobody. Let's not come and be begging people. If you want to vote, if you want to form a coalition, you form it. If you don't want to form it, leave it. But one thing I'm sure is that there will be municipal election, and Cameroonians will infer from this election and know what the municipal election will go. My advice to Cameroonians conclusively is that stay out of trouble. Say no to violence. If it doesn't favor you this time, there's next election. You go for next election. We are young, we are active. There's hope. For what we saw within this presidential deposition of candidacy, we have seen younger candidates coming up. It means that 2032 will be a match. Whether we like it or not, 2032 will be a match. So why are you stressing yourself? Don't bother.
And you have more people who are old areas show up in 2032.
Yes, because you
One thing will come up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, for a last word, I really want to appreciate especially those who have their voters card, and I want to call for those who are still waiting to go and check their names on the electoral list to check if their names are really there. And I want to encourage the civil society and all Cameroonians everywhere you are, north, south, that it is possible for us to make change through the ballot box. It is very possible. It is very possible because all of the 8 million registered on the electoral list are humans. We know there are fictive or maybe younger people who have been registered on the list, but it is possible for us to get into those ballot box, into those polling stations and vote the right choice, even if you are from CPDM or any other political party, to get the right choice. As Pastor said, the best thing is to get closer to the projects, get closer to the societal projects of each and everyone, and see, look keenly into these projects and the aspiring political leaders who are going in for elections. You know, get into their projects and get closer to them, understand them through the media, and make the right choice. I really believe that Cameroonians will be free this coming 12th October, and I really pray that each and everyone should make a right choice.
Okay, everybody is going to make a right choice. Thank you guys for coming, and to all of you for watching. The production team, we say we are immensely grateful. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
To